Ladies and gentlemen, a shocking new report has been released that gives us some insight and some new details on the hit job by the NFL against Jon Gruden. And things are getting bad for the NFL as Gruden continues to stack wins in court. He has not lost yet, and now things have reached a tipping point and the NFL is desperate, grasping, trying to find a way to cover their ass. And Gruden explains in this report how he is not backing down at all. And we have learned so much about the NFL. We have learned how desperate they are. We have learned their legal strategy against Jon Gruden. And we have also learned that 4 different owners believe Roger Goodell was behind the Gruden email leaks, not Dan Snyder. We're going to break down this report, some of the deepest insights and the contradictions. Make sure you like and subscribe if you have not yet. This story dropped by ESPN is the latest news regarding Jon Gruden's lawsuit against the NFL and Roger Goodell. Gruden to this day claims Roger Goodell and the NFL were behind the email leaks that led to the end of his career. Now we have Gruden here saying that he persists in believing that Goodell pushed the code red against him, and he told associates, adding that the commissioner executed the kill shot on his career, a bullet to the head. Gruden insists he won't settle his lawsuit for any amount, intending to burn the house down. He wants to reveal the truth about who ordered the leaks and says it was a massive hit job. And this is Gruden in this report that is talking about the email leak and how it led to the end of Dan Snyder. Now the key thing here that you need to pay attention to is the fact that Gruden is insisting that he won't settle. As we alluded to earlier, Jon Gruden has gotten a lot of victories in court. The judge ruled from the bench saying that the NFL cannot push Gruden's case into arbitration. And the NFL started freaking out about this because they want to control the whole process. They do not want this to go to trial because they know they can't hang, because they know they're in the wrong, and because they know they will be exposed. And so Gruden is having some success here. The case is currently on pause because the NFL is trying to appeal and try to make sure that this doesn't go to trial. And many people believe Gruden will just settle for some cash, but he's making it very clear here in this report that it's not about the money, it's about exposing this bull that happened to him that led to the end of his career unfairly, and it was all orchestrated by Roger Goodell. And this is what Gruden says. Why would these people want to come and get me? The only explanation he said is that he had a league-wide whispering campaign of Roger Goodell, and he says he's not the only one, but deep down he knew Goodell had him by the balls. But with these new details that we're finding out and the progress of Gruden in court, seems like Jon Gruden might actually now have Goodell by the balls. The Roger Goodell and Jon Gruden relationship has some history. Gruden believed that Goodell and the league office have always had it out for him, and in this report it is explained that Al Davis had a large influence on Jon Gruden's philosophy about the NFL and about the commissioner. Davis taught Gruden to hate the NFL office from the moment he hired the coach in 1998. Al Davis always explained that the league is sketchy, the league plays favorites, the league does not play fair. And this ESPN article, yes, it's written by a lot of great people, but they try to characterize this as classic Raiders paranoia. I'm sorry, bro. If you've been a Raiders fan for decades like me, you know what's real. It ain't paranoia. We know the Raiders in the NFL have had some beef over the years. Davis sued the league for antitrust violations, and also the commissioner Pete Rozelle personally killed a trade before the 1983 draft that would have sent Hall of Famer John Elway to the Raiders. Gruden has always had his issues with the league stemming from the Tuck rule, a BS rule that helped Brady and the Patriots beat the Raiders in that 2021 season. And Gruden has always been critical of the refs, of the league officiating, of the fact that they don't always have the same rule every single time. You've seen him curse refs out on the sideline, and you also even had him while he was an announcer talking to Brian Gumbel, saying how these rules are so subjective and it's just not fair.
Is that illegal?
In my opinion, no.
Okay, well, That was a flag.
Jon Gruden's criticism of the league's rules and the officiating even led to Roger Goodell inviting him over to league headquarters. This was because Gruden had criticized some unnecessary roughness calls on Monday Night Football, and Goodell tried to teach him how unnecessary roughness is dictated in the league. He was condescending this guy. He was trying to talk down to him. He was trying to put him in his place. Gruden was also sketched out that Mark Davis and the Raiders were pushed out of the 2016 LA team relocation, which is a little odd because the Raiders are hands down the most popular team in Los Angeles. And in 2020, Gruden was fined by Goodell because he didn't wear his mask the right way on the sideline. And this wasn't just some little ass fine. This was a $150,000 fine. And Mark Davis tried to pay the fine for Jon Gruden, and Goodell in the NFL would not let him. He made Jon Gruden pay the fine. And Sean Payton, the former Saints head coach, who's a good friend of Gruden, even told Gruden that he was the only one dumb enough to pay the fine, and they all got fined, but didn't actually pay it. Gruden was the only one who had to pay it. This tense relationship between Jon Gruden and Goodell, between the Raiders and the NFL, set the stage for the email leak in 2021, when it was quite clear that it was no coincidence at all that only Jon Gruden's emails were leaked out of 650,000. Mark Davis never wanted to fire Jon Gruden for those emails, and he has since said that it felt like a setup. He found the story's timing suspicious. Why were the emails coming out now? League officials in New York, people like Roger Goodell, and a few team owners had already known about Gruden's emails 8 months prior to them being leaked. And look, we all know Jon Gruden. He's a crass and funny guy, and Davis knew him quite well and said, yeah, he can be crass and profane, but in his relationship that spans more than 2 decades, keep in mind Gruden also has a relationship with Al Davis. Well, he had no reason to believe Jon Gruden was racist, and we have since had several players speak up about Jon Gruden and say that they do not believe he is racist.
But I do not believe that Jon Gruden himself is a racist. I would not put that on him.
I didn't see anything racist from Jon Gruden my 6 years playing underneath him.
Coach Gruden has never ever done anything verbally that would make me think that he is a racist, he's homophobic.
But I will end it like this. We all have emails, so be careful what you ask for.
But you're not gonna call my head coach a racist. There's no way a fire-breathing racist would be in front of me or on my speed dial.
I think that Jon Gruden should be welcomed back into the NFL.
Yes.
It was 10 years ago, and I'm not going to chalk everything up to racism. I think we accept his apology, move forward.
Being so close to him and being one of his closest players, I believe, I know he's not a racist.
Well, I probably know Jon better than anybody in the league on a personal level.
We're talking about a private conversation. If you look at my phone right now, you could probably find something like, I can't believe KJ said that.
I played for him. I played, won the AFC title with him and lost in the game before the Super Bowl, so I cried with him as well.
You know how many people, how many NFL coaches or NFL owners probably think what he said and have said what he said, but those players are playing for their coaches. It's not another topic, Joe.
He said he never experienced or saw anything that would say Jon was racist in any way. That is exactly the experience I had those 7 years traveling 3 days together on the road.
The first set of emails that were leaked on October 8th, 2021 were about DeMaurice Smith, where Jon Gruden called him DeMaurice Smith. And yes, people say he used a racist trope because he said he has lips the size of Michelin tires, but you also have players like Warren Sapp saying that these comments ain't racist.
I'll bet my life on it. That's the first time DeMaurice Smith said somebody called him big lips and it was racist.
So after that DeMaurice Smith email was leaked, you had Mark Davis and Goodell meet on a conference call, and Davis tried to stick by Gruden the whole time, but he felt pressure from Roger Goodell, and Roger Goodell kept telling him, you have to do something. And Mark Davis was rightfully pissed because he believed that the NFL has no right to pressure an owner to fire a coach against their will. And this is the smoking gun. This is why several people believe the NFL leaked these emails. This is what Jon Gruden's lawyer also claims, which is the fact that the NFL intimidated the Raiders. They pressured the Raiders, told them we'll leak more if you don't get rid of Gruden. And you have this here in this ESPN report. Goodell telling Davis, there's more emails coming. Something has to be done. How would Goodell be able to know for a fact more emails emails are going to be leaked unless he was behind the leaking. If these leaks were really Dan Snyder, like the NFL is trying to trick you into believing, they want to trick the public to believe the leaks are Dan Snyder. That way the case does not go to trial. That way Goodell doesn't get in trouble. That way the NFL does not get in trouble. And it's a perfect scenario for them because Snyder's already on his way out as owner, so they're trying to pin it all on him. But you have even 4 different NFL owners who spoke to ESPN and said they believe Goodell was personally involved, which is absolutely insane. You even had one of the authors of this article also talk about this fact, and that is what he said stuck out to him the most about the report, the most about the investigation, is the fact that 4 different current NFL owners believe the leak of Jon Gruden was by Roger Goodell.
To say that it's probably the fact that there are owners, there are 4 of them that Seth Wickersham and I spoke with that say they believe Roger Goodell personally had something to do with the leaks. Goodell denied just a couple of weeks after the leaks to both the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times on these Gruden emails that he had anything to do with them. He told all the owners that in an executive session. He looked them all in the eye, and yet there are still 4 owners, at least that told us on background, that they don't believe the commissioner. They believe that the commissioner had enough motive, had enough reason to do it, and I think that's the thing that surprised me the most in the reporting.
And Gruden spoke to ESPN recently and said it's ridiculous the league thought they could cherry pick emails from years ago when I wasn't even a coach and try to end my career. At a minimum, I deserve the opportunity to respond and receive some due process. And they try to cover it up right in front of you. Last year in October, ESPN reported that the league believes Snyder was behind the leaks. Yeah. The league believes it's Snyder. You're going to trust the league? You're going to trust Goodell? Now, I'm not blaming the writers of this article. These writers are getting information from league officials. These writers are getting information from anonymous sources who are different players, different coaches, different owners off the record. But what the league is telling them is very deliberate, and the league is trying to send a clear message as to the type of picture that they want to paint regarding Gruden's emails. And a league associate with direct knowledge told ESPN that DeMaurice Smith bragged that he was responsible for leaking the racist email referring to him, and this was published on the same day where Smith forced a union vote to retain his job. And this is very convenient for Goodell. The article is trying to paint the picture that Smith is behind the first leak, and isn't that convenient because Smith is no longer going to be the NFL Players Association director. His time is ending soon. Couple that with the fact that Snyder is no longer going to be the owner of the Commanders. Isn't it such a convenient coincidence that the email leaks for Gruden are DeMaurice Smith's fault and Snyder's fault? 2 guys who are no longer going to be a part of the NFL, and looks like Roger Goodell is good to go and did nothing wrong. Even though we got 4 owners saying they believe it was Goodell, even though we got Jon freaking Gruden saying he believes it's Goodell, even though we have Goodell on the phone with the Raiders threatening to release more emails. This is some bullshit to cover their ass because they're getting scared. And this is a fact. Apart from Daniel Snyder's lawyers, only a handful of league staff, Roger Goodell included, mostly in the legal department, had access to the emails. But we know tons of owners knew about them already. There was gossip about the emails prior to their release. And look, the Snyder situation, let's just break it down as simple as possible. Before the emails were leaked in October 2021, he was good to go. He was good to go with his investigation. He had his punishment in that prior July. He paid a sum of money and had to not be fully involved in day-to-day operations. His wife had to be involved instead. So he was good to go. He had absolutely no reason to try to clear his name because he was good to go. But this article is implying that he was upset that he was still not allowed back to league meetings. ESPN asked the league if Roger Goodell had shared any of the emails with anyone. The DeMaurice Smith emails, the stuff about him being an anti-football P word, and the league declined to say. They couldn't just say no. They declined to say because they could not go on the record saying, no, he never shared the emails with anyone, because they know that's a lie and they can get in trouble for that because he likely leaked them. And here's the kicker. Here's why we all know that the NFL were behind feeding these leaks to the New York Times, because over the years, Goodell has responded to leaks from inside the league office by assembling his top staff and saying the league would be searching its phones and computers for communications with reporters. But after the Gruden leaks, league sources said Goodell did not hold that type of meeting, and it's unclear why not. The reason why he's not investigating who leaked, the reason why it doesn't seem like the NFL or Goodell give a shit is because they are likely the culprit. And there is one way where we could find out exactly who leaked this. There is one way where we will for sure know for a fact, verified fact, backed by evidence, which is if the NFL does not force Gruden's case into arbitration, if Jon Gruden's case is allowed to go to trial, which it currently is on track to go to trial, then because of the discovery process, because Gruden's lawyers would be able to search emails and computers and all kinds of electronic devices to figure out who was the culprit, we would all be able to find out who leaked it. But instead, the NFL is not interested in that because they know that they would be the main suspect. And so if the NFL really believes it's Daniel Snyder or really believes it's DeMaurice Smith behind some of these leaks, then they should just let Jon Gruden's court case go to trial, because then we'd be able to prove what they claim to believe. But they know they're full of shit. We have been able to learn a good amount from this report, but the primary thing that we've been able to learn from this latest report is the NFL and Roger Goodell's strategy against Jon Gruden. And their strategy right now, because they are backed into a corner where it looks like this case by Gruden will go to trial, their strategy right now is to pin the leaks on somebody else. They're trying to pin it on Dan Snyder, and they're trying to pin it on maybe even DeMaurice Smith. At least the first email, they're trying to pin that on him. And they're also trying to pin part of it on a branding firm that is friendly with Dan Snyder and operated by rapper Jay-Z, Rock Nation. There's some details about that, but we're trying to give you the clear explanation as to why this article is being published now, and why is there a concerted effort in the media and even through institutions like ESPN to paint Dan Snyder as the main culprit, even though Jon Gruden and his lawyers firmly believe that the NFL and Roger Goodell was behind it, and the timing of it and the intimidation against the Raiders forcing them to fire Gruden all shows that Goodell had his hand on the lever to release more emails. And like we stated earlier, we are waiting until this goes to trial. The NFL is stopping this case from going to trial. They're trying to delay it. They're trying to pause. They're trying to appeal it not going to arbitration. And this shows that they're afraid that they'll be exposed, because we can find out who did this, who leaked Gruden's emails if this does go to trial. And frankly, a lot of people, including Gruden's legal team, believes that the NFL and Goodell will be front and center of that one. And Jon Gruden in this latest report reiterates that he is not backing down, that he knows that Goodell issued the code red against him, and it is not about the money. That is the key thing that he said today. It is not about the money. He wants justice. He wants to burn the whole house down. He wants the NFL and Goodell to be exposed. And we know that Gruden's been working out with the Saints, helping out Derek Carr. And according to Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk, the Saints have not received any pushback for having Jon Gruden help them out. And this is because they're just scared of the situation happening right now in court. They don't want to target Gruden at all because that will show that they are biased against him. So if you're a Gruden fan like me, you got to be a little stoked with some of this latest information. As long as we're not fooled by the media and we're not tricked into thinking that Dan Snyder is the main culprit, then Gruden will have a chance to perhaps leverage and grab the NFL by the balls and force them to allow him to coach in the NFL again. If you want to see Gruden coaching in the NFL again, comment in this video, "Free Gruden." And by the way, we have been covering this story straight for multiple years at this point. Man, time sure does fly. Check out this Jon Gruden playlist that is on this channel. You can see all of our work that we've done on this throughout the years. My name is WiFiWillie. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.